Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm going to give you guys a second to kind of come into the conversation. As you know, I'm really interested in real estate as one of the pillars to wealth. You guys know, if you're in the Black Business School, you know that learning real estate and buying real estate is one of the key and most important steps toward becoming a wealth builder. And so, in order to pull this off, in order to really dig deeper into this concept in this conversation, I reached out to a friend with the Fly Nubian Business Network named Danielle Pierce. Danielle is an expert on all things real estate and many things, almost all things financial as well. And so we're going to kind of talk about that, making money on foreclosures and how you go about doing that. So before I begin, without further ado, I want to ask Danielle, how you doing today?
I am doing awesome. How are you doing, Dr. Boyce?
I'm doing extremely well, and very happy to talk to you. So let me first get as people come in, can you kind of give a little bit of a sense of your background and what you do and why I'm talking to you about this topic?
Perfect. Sure, absolutely. So first of all, thanks for having me back on the show. I'm happy to be here. Love talking to the audience and sharing the information that I've gathered over the years. So again, I'm Danielle Pierce. I'm the founder of Women, Wealth, and Real Estate. I show people how to make money in real estate outside of sales. Everybody thinks real estate and they think being a sales agent, selling property, and I don't actually do any of that. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. My background, though, I do have an accounting degree. I don't know any accounting, so don't ask me any of those questions related to like CPA, tax planning, any of that stuff. I've forgotten it long ago, but I did work in corporate for about 5 years, got laid off, got my real estate license, did my first flip, did some other things in real estate. Some were successful, some were not. A lot of it was, some things I wasn't successful at because I couldn't get the support system together. And it's weird because a lot of it was other Black people, like just trying to break into certain aspects of real estate. And I would hear things like, oh, well, you got to figure it out, or you got to learn the best way you can, or, I don't know what to tell you. So anyway, long story short, I finally ventured into the world of repairing and maintaining foreclosed properties. That was 5 years ago. I've been doing it ever since then. I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I've not worked in corporate since 2007. Shout out to me, trying to keep the struggle alive, and I won't be back. So I've discovered this niche along with tax lien investing, which I did on a prior video, and it does have its, of course, negatives. Just like nothing is perfect, but in terms of the lifestyle that it affords, how easy it is to get started, the revenue potential, which is in the hundreds of thousands up to $1 million a year, it really can't be beat. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today.
Right. Okay, everybody. So I'm talking to Miss Danielle Pierce, and we're talking about how to make money through foreclosures and various other aspects of real estate. And so, and those of you who haven't subscribed at the Black Financial Channel, just know that that's where we're live. You can go to theblackfinancialchannel.com. How you doing, Nakia Clark? Nakia, in case you don't know Danielle, Nakia is just one of those people that remind you of just the resilience and consistency and the love that Black women show to Black men all over the world. And Nakia is one of my favorite sisters on this planet. So thank you, Nakia, for being such a loyal supporter of everything that we're doing over here. Miss Pierce, let's start with, okay, so you said you haven't been on the corporate plantation since 2007.
Correct.
And that's really cool. It's so funny. I happened to just buy a car and just yesterday, and I didn't realize until I bought the car that I hadn't owned a car since 2007, right? And not that means anything relative to this conversation, but it kind of does, right? It's 2007 versus 2018, 11 years. I didn't realize I didn't have a car, and the reason I lost my car actually back then was because I was putting so much money into my business that I couldn't afford to keep the car. I had to tell them to come pick it up and take it, and I had to confess to that, to people and tell them like that, look, this journey ain't easy. It's very difficult to get your business off the ground or to become independent, but once you become free, you don't want to go backward. And so before we dig deeper into the foreclosure thing, I'd like to know more about your journey as a mom and as a human being, as you've been sort of away from the plantation. Were there times like that where you just, kind of hit what felt like rock bottom and kind of had to find a way to keep going?
Yeah, I know exactly when I hit rock bottom. Actually, it was multiple times, but the one that I always tell people about is, gosh, it was July 2009. So I've been laid off for 2 years. And during that 2 years, I, called myself going to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to do real estate. And I would like do a couple networking meetings here and there, pass out a couple business cards here and there. But really, I wasn't doing anything to build my business. And that was because I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. And I think that that's what happens with a lot of people. Like, they have this idea of being an entrepreneur, but they don't know anything about the life. And I was one of those people. I don't know any entrepreneurs. Everybody I know worked a job. Everyone I know got paid Friday, and then, maybe they got paid every Friday, and they, were broke by Monday, Tuesday of next week. So I just didn't have any type of background or knowledge of what I was getting into at all. So 2009 in July, I made $342 for the whole month in that year. And I and I know that because I track my money in Excel by month every year. I've done that since 2007. And one of my very first mentors taught me to do that. And I remember thinking at that point, like, this is not going to work.
A lot of people would have said it more bluntly. They would say, "Man, this is some bullshit." Like,
yeah.
I know that feeling. But go ahead, please continue.
Yeah, I was like, this is not going to work. I mean, you talked all this stuff about corporate and how bad it was, but you definitely weren't making $300 a month. And so at that point, I'd like to say that I had this great business idea and went on to be wildly successful. It did end up being successful, but at that point, what ended up happening is I tried to go back into corporate, and I couldn't get a job. That's what happened. I went to these interviews, and I've always interviewed well, never had a problem getting a job, but for some reason, could not get hired back in accounting, audit, tax, anything. So I had to continue to be successful as an entrepreneur. So I left corporate making about $62,000 a year. 2011 is the first year that I replaced my corporate salary. So that's 4 years. And then 2014 is when I finally exceeded it. So again, I left in 2007. So 4 years being broke, like just barely making ends meet. 2011, I finally I think I hit 70-some thousand a year. 2014 is when, doing property preservation, we hit over $300,000 a year in revenue. And that just took, so that was a 7-year journey to get to that point.
Wow. Okay, so you went from making from having a huge pay cut
Yes.
to having a gigantic pay raise.
I did.
That your boss, probably never would have given easily.
No, I wouldn't hit $300,000 a year if I had been in corporate from graduation till today. I still wouldn't be there. I'd be at about 120. Which sounds like a lot, but 120 in corporate means you take home 80, maybe 85, 90. And then I got 3 kids, I got bills. I mean, it just, yeah, it's a different scenario for sure.
And you don't own the corporate, I think you and I both know that, right? I mean, we forget about that part, right? You don't own the job, like, so you don't get any of the benefits that lead to wealth building. I mean, Julian Gordon, who's our Dean of Entrepreneurship in the Black Business School, made an interesting point. He was saying that, if you look at your income, he said, we call it income, but it's not really income. He said, actually, your income from your job is actually your revenue, right? If you look at your life the same way we look at a business, you have revenue, then you take out your expenses, and what's left after your expenses is what your income is, right? Mm-hmm. I want to ask people out here, when you get your revenue, when you get that paycheck and you take out all the expenses, how much money is left over? For a lot of people, it's zero. For a lot of people, it's nothing, right? So that almost says that, you have no income. You have no, and unlike a business, in a business, you get your revenue and you take out the expenses. What are the tax benefits of that, right? You get to write off those expenses, right? Do you get to, when you pay your rent, you get to write that off? When you pay, when you pay for daycare, I mean, when you pay for shoes and clothes and whatever else, utilities for your car note, do you get to write that off? The answer is no. And I think that these are the little things that I want our people to see in terms of how America is biased in favor of people who are on the wealth building side of the equation. Like, entrepreneurs and business owners and property owners pay lower taxes than everybody else. They get to write off expenses more than everybody else. If you have a business and you're good and you know how to run a good business and you got family members that work for you, you can visit your relatives and write that off on your expenses as long as you're doing business together. And that's pretty cool. you know?
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because I remember I started working at American Express out of college. This was 2002, and my salary was $50,000 a year. And I was like, oh my God, I'm making so much money. I'm like, damn, I'm rich. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm only making like $2,000 every 2 weeks. And I get my first check, Dr. Boyce. My first check was like $11.83. So from almost $2,000 was what it's supposed to be, like the gross pay. I got $11.83. And I remember like, and I was stunned when that happened to me. And why is it that I didn't know that until it happened? Like, why didn't I know that like while I was in college? Or why didn't nobody like pull me to the side, like, you only gonna see this $50,000 a year on paper, right? You make about $30,000 a year, $35,000 a year. Like, I didn't know that. And I think that that's so shitty and problematic that so many people go to college, chasing these salaries, thinking they're going to make all this money, and then they get paid, and it's not what they expect. And I owed money. The end of my very first year, I owed money, and I wasn't prepared for that either. I'm thinking I'm going to get money back because everybody I know get a refund. I end up owing like $6,000 my very first year working out of college. I was like, this is some bull.
Yeah, this is that should be the anthem. Like, this is some bullshit. I think, and I think you got to call it for what it is. I think that like letting young people know early is really important. Like, I mean, I really wish people like you and myself and others could literally go and speak to every young Black college student in this world. Because the young people have to be warned on this, and I know universities. I'm a Black man, and I call that white supremacy, so I probably ain't a fit for most campuses. But but fortunately, because we have 400,000 subscribers on YouTube that are Black people, we can connect and talk to the parents. And what I'm really doing is saying to the parents, you got to warn your kids before they get caught up in this nonsense that is being fed to not just Black children but white children as well. Even the white people are being screwed by this. But for Black people, I think it's tenfold because you're already dealing with racism on top of a very biased economic system, right? So now I'd like to dig deeper into your area of expertise. And everybody who's on the Black Financial Channel, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not watching on the Black Financial Channel, please go to theblackfinancialchannel.com. That's where we do daily news and reporting on financial issues from a Black perspective, on the stock markets, all that stuff. So theblackfinancialchannel.com. So let me ask you this, Miss Danielle Pierce. Real estate. Why, when you first started off as an entrepreneur, was real estate kind of your main thing, or did you kind of shift over time?
I've never done anything but real estate. That's always been my focus. It will probably always be my focus, to be honest. I'll never not be in real estate in some capacity. It's not just because it's what I know, but just because of all the different areas that you can venture down to be successful in. I mean, I just don't see a reason to do anything else, to be honest. Yep. You're mute. Okay.
Sorry, I hit buttons and I mute myself sometimes because
okay.
I'm sharing the link and bringing everybody in, and
Cool.
Yeah, you're so articulate, and I was just enjoying what you were saying, and I didn't realize you would stop talking. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think I think real estate is powerful and important, and really I almost feel that for kids, I really think knowing at least the basics of real estate is probably more important than learning like even biology or chemistry in high school. Not that those things don't matter, they do matter, but most of us don't use biology or chemistry knowledge to survive on a day-to-day basis. So if education is designed to help you get what you need, I think every Black child should learn about real estate. I think that's one of the solutions I've tried to lay out in terms of how we solve like our wealth gap and ownership gap and things like that. Is in order for us to solve the ownership gap, we must teach our kids the value of ownership. So you jump now. So now you do a lot of work in foreclosures and tax liens. Talk about foreclosures. What am I missing if I am a person who doesn't know anything about making money in foreclosures? Like what did you?
So let me so to break it down in a way that I pride myself on breaking down complex concepts in a way that most people can relate to and understand. So of course everyone knows what a foreclosed property is. It's a property that the people weren't able to continue paying with the mortgage payments, so the bank took it over. You'll also hear the phrase REO. That also just means it's a bank-owned foreclosure, okay? So the way it works and the way my business works is that I have contracts with national servicing companies throughout the country, and I'm assigned specific territories, and I manage and will repair and maintain all the properties that are assigned to me in that area. So people always ask, how do you get started? Well, first you need a business. That's number one. And it's not really that difficult to set one up. I mean, I started as a sole proprietorship, but because I was broke and I didn't have the money to set up a corporation or an LLC at that time. At the time, I was still in Chicago, and Chicago at the time had the highest startup cost for an LLC in the country. It was like $500 to start an LLC. So I did a sole proprietorship, which basically means you and the business are the same thing. And that worked up until the point my CPA was like, all right, there's too much money coming in. You're losing money in this area. So I recommend you set up an S Corp. So first and foremost, you guys, you do need a business. You need a clean background. That has been an issue for, I won't say many, but a lot of people that I come across, they're not able to even get off the starting block because their background isn't clean. You have to go do a background check with the company, and they do check like everything nationally. You have to pass it with a 1, which is the highest clearance. So if you don't do that, you can't even get a contract. And so, but the workaround, of course, because Black folks be good at working around, right? The workaround is to put everything in someone else's name. So obviously it has to be somebody that you trust so that it works and the business can still function the way that it's intended to. But that's how you get around that. And then you need insurance. So the insurance that you need, you might need workman's comp depending upon what state you live in, but you do need general liability and you need errors and omissions. So you have to have that. So really the startup costs, probably around $500,000 or so. Not very expensive at all. In terms of like the revenue potential, the money that you can make and the money that you have to put in to get started, like it literally can't be beat. Not legally anyway. Like there are some other ways, and legally I'm sure that you can make a lot of money in a short period of time.
But very, very high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But for this right here, the startup costs and the barriers to entry are very, very low. And the people always ask, because I have a real estate license, I'm a managing broker. They'll say, well, do you have to have a real estate license? And you do not. You don't need a real estate license. So you might want to type that in the comments because everyone always asks that. And then they'll say, well, do you need a general contractor's license? And you don't need to have that either. So you don't need a GC license in order to get started. It could help you at some point down the line, but it is not a requirement by any means. I do happen to have one. It's for Chicago, but it's really not that big of a deal to get one. At least in Chicago, you just pay the money, show that you have insurance. They send you your license and you pay and you renew it every year. So that's the basics to get started. So background check, set up a company, get insurance. And then from there, it's a matter of applying to the national companies to see where can I get a contract? Like who can I partner with? What city and state needs the most work? At one point, you guys, I was working in 11 different states. 11 different states around the country. And not the entire state, I was just covering the metro area. And I did that for about a year or so. And I stopped, not because it wasn't successful, but because it was stressful, like finding that many contractors in that many places at the same time. So I looked to see where I make the most money. And where I make the most money is Chicago and Houston, Texas. Texas has a tremendous amount of work because of the size of the state, as does California, as does Illinois, Florida. I can work with pretty much anyone, anywhere in the country, with the exception of maybe Hawaii. I don't know anything about Hawaii, but I currently have clients in Illinois, Indiana, Georgia, Florida, California, New York, Virginia, North Carolina, and I think South Carolina too. So I'm working with quite a bit of people, and I still work in a business as well. Like I don't offer training on anything that I'm not currently doing. Like I only teach what I absolutely know. And this is something that I happen to know very, very well. I don't know everything, but I know a whole lot about the industry. And for anyone that's looking to get started, I can for sure help you get started setting up this business wherever you are in the country.
All right.
So that is the breakdown of how to get started in a nutshell.
Okay, all right. Well, so let me ask you this, and everybody who's watching, I'm speaking to Danielle Pierce, and we're talking about how to make money on foreclosures and all that good stuff. And we're at the Black Financial Channel. So if you haven't subscribed, or go to theblackfinancialchannel.com, make sure you subscribe and also hit that thumbs up button. And also, if you want to get text alerts when we go live, text the word Boyce to 31996. Just text my name Boyce to 31996. So, Ms. Pierce, let me ask you this. So. Let's start with some, like a basic kind of question.
Okay.
'Cause I know you teach a class on foreclosures and stuff like that.
Yep.
You know, where would I even begin to start looking to find out about the foreclosures in my area? And is it a complicated process to even, sort of start digging into that? Is that better than just going and buying a house on the regular market and stuff like that?
So that's a little bit different. What we do is we just take care of the repair and the maintenance of the property. The actual selling of the property and the purchase, that's done by like listing agents and buyers agents and people like that. So I actually don't have to deal with that aspect of it at all. A lot of people ask, if you want to buy those properties, are you able to? So technically, because I have relationships with these properties, I know information that the general public doesn't know. I can't buy them. Now, do people do it? Absolutely. People do it. People do things all the time they shouldn't do, but it's not something that, I would recommend. But one of the questions that people always ask, as far as like how to get started, I think I just broke that down a couple minutes ago. They'll say, well, how much money can I make? And the answer to that is your first 3 to 6 months, you'll make between $3,000 to $5,000 per month in revenue. And that's because they are trying to see if you are a good fit, if you are able to do the work that's requested of you, if, you're seeing if you like doing the work as well. And they're going to like kind of reel you in very slowly to make sure that you can handle volume. So then, first 3 to 6 months, $3,000 to $5,000 per month. And actually my average client does about $3,500 to $4,000 per month. And that's consistent throughout the country. They're not going to flood you with work because you're a brand new person. And then people will say, well, how long before I get a contract? I think maybe that was what you were asking before, like how long before I can get one of these companies to partner with me so that they can start assigning me work. That takes anywhere from, now I've had it happen in 3 weeks. That was for somebody in St. Louis and somebody in Chicago. The average is probably 3 months though. It depends upon where you're located. Some areas are, of course, super saturated, usually like places like Chicago is saturated, Miami is saturated, but that doesn't mean that you can't get started. It just means that it'll take you a little bit longer. The way it works is that there's always a lot of turnover and a lot of change, and vendors mess up because there's lots of ways to cut corners in this business, lots of ways to be slick, lots of ways to make money without doing anything. And you have some people who that's how they operate. I'll give you an example. If you are assigned to a property to do a clean out, which means take everything out of the property, take all the trash out, and they'll pay and say it's, I don't know, let's say it's 50 cubic yards of debris. So 50 cubic yards for the company that I work with pays $30 a yard, so that's $1,500. So you have people who will take everything out of the property and put it in the alley, or they'll take everything out of the property and put it in the backyard. So they'll take the pictures, the before, during, and after pictures, like the property, like everything was here and now it's gone, but everything is still on site, which of course is a violation. So you have companies that operate that way. And of course they're caught at some point, like everyone else is, because everyone has a cell phone, everyone is recording, everyone is, always watching. And so once they lose their contract, that opens it up for the next vendor. So as long as you're ready, willing, and able and in position, then you'll get your opportunity. So yeah, that's how that part works.
So for those of now, see some people are asking, to try to understand what because I think who knows, maybe I picked out of the wrong time. I was talking about making money on foreclosures, and that's why I put in the title. And so I kind of want to make sure that everybody understands the process you're describing. So
yep.
Let's say I wanted to get involved in this process you're referring to, where you mentioned, getting contracts and someone giving you work.
Yep.
What can you describe that in more detail? Like walk us through.
What does that contract look like? So basically,
what would it look like? What would I be expected to do? Why are they paying me? How do I kind of scale up from there? That kind of.
Yeah, so everyone has seen foreclosed properties, of course, in the neighborhood, in the community. And so the properties, a lot of them need maintenance. They need work. They need, routine things done to the property. So if you are assigned to that property, you're a vendor and you're assigned to that property, That means that you are doing all the grass cuts, all the snow removals, all the shrub trimming, all the gutter cleaning, all the roof tarping. If the basement floods, you're extracting the water out of the basement. And you make most of your money, to be honest, doing clean outs, which is basically trash outs or debris removal. So everybody, people leave stuff behind their house, like a bunch of stuff all the time. So your job is to go and take everything out of the property and dispose of it. So the example I gave before, let's say the house has, 50 cubic yards, which is like what the average house has. So you get paid, they'll pay you $1,500 to do that, right? That's how much the bank is going to pay you. And then you as a business owner, you are either A, doing the work yourself, which some people do. I don't, because I don't know how to do anything. Or you're subcontracting everything out. So you're finding people, you're building a team to go work on your behalf. And you can pay those people by the hour, or you can pay them a percentage of the job. It just depends upon how you structure the business. So that's how you make money. So the bank pays you, and you figure out how much you're going to pay the people to get the work done for you.
Okay. Now that makes a lot of sense. So can you talk about some examples of people that really came into their own and really started doing well financially
Sure.
as a result of doing this kind of work you described?
So I have multiple success stories in addition to mine, because everybody, my success story is one thing, but people don't really care about what I've done. They want to hear if it's duplicatable. So I have my highest success story to date as a client out of Chicago. I started working with her about 2.5 years ago, and she hit $45,000 per month in revenue. And this just happened maybe 3 months ago, but it took like 2 years to get to that point. And then I have another client who does about $25,000 per month consistently, also in Chicago. I would say the average client right now is doing about probably about $10,000 per month. And what's my other? Oh, and then people always ask if you can do the work and still keep a full-time job. So this is a full-time job. This is a full-time business. But some people do it. I have another lady, she's a full-time teacher, and she decided to pick this up so she wouldn't have to keep on doing work as a substitute. So she adds about $40,000 to $50,000 per year in revenue to her existing budget. So that works for her because she works from 9 to 5. She doesn't want to do, $200,000, $300,000 a year because she can't handle it. So the only way you could do this and still keep your full-time job is if you have a job that has some flexibility. So you have a job that you can take a phone call, you can respond to a text message, you can send an email. Those are the people who tend to do well. I have had people that got too much work and they were working a full-time job, so they had to kind of slow down a little bit and kind of put themselves on hold. I have had that scenario happen as well too. But it's ideal if you can do this full-time and devote all your energy to it.
Wow. Wow. That's wow. Wow. So Danielle Pierce, that's who I'm speaking with. We're at the Black Financial Channel. So Lady D's asking, is this on YouTube? Yes, it is on YouTube, theblackfinancialchannel.com. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to cover daily financial content, conversations, news, etc. So Miss Danielle Pierce, so let me ask you this question. The people that you mentioned that are now making $25,000 a month and $45,000 a month, you said the lady who's making $45,000 a month, it took her 2 years to get there, to get to that point. What were they doing before they started, making all this money? Like, did they have regular jobs? Did they have like small businesses? What were they doing before that?
They do not have regular jobs. They don't. They've been full-time since day one. And that's really the reason why they're probably as successful as they are. Because the more time that you devote to it, the more that the companies see that you can handle volume and that you don't turn work down and that you are actually doing good work. Because that's the other thing too. You can't be doing shady stuff either. Like, you can't be half-assed or, just trying to be slick or just trying to get paid for doing nothing. You have to actually put out a quality product. That can be challenging sometimes if you're subbing the work out like I do, because finding good subcontractors, that's a job in and of itself, to be quite honest. But it can happen, and it does happen, and it will happen if you're consistent at it. So the people who are the most successful, no, they don't work full-time jobs.
Well, let me ask you this. I guess I didn't ask my question correctly then. You said it took her 2 years to get to that point. What was she doing before those 2 years began? Like, did she?
Oh, she was, she's an entrepreneur. She's one of the people who, how can I put it? She did a lot of different things. You know, sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, you're just trying to find your lane and figure out what to do. So she was like doing travel, and then she was doing ACN, and then she was doing, what's the other company? 5LINKs. And her husband, though, is ironically enough in accounting, like I am, or like I was, I should say. So he had like the more consistent, steady 9 to 5. And she was just kind of out doing her thing and trying different things. She was still looking for that thing that would, you know, kind of work for her. And that ended up being this industry.
Okay, interesting. So, and I guess I asked that because I'm always curious about the origin story. You know, what were people doing? What were they looking for before? And it almost sounds like she was kind of jumping into different things, trying to figure out what that thing was going to be. Almost like dating, right? You know, dating different people and kissing some frogs in order to find the person that you know that you really want and the one who's going to really work for you. And it almost seems like similar to dating, that having a guide to kind of help you figure out where the gold is buried goes a long way. So you mentioned that your clients, you mentioned, and I don't know if your clients are the same as your students, because I know you have a program where you teach people kind of how to do this. What are the benefits that kind of come along with sort of having someone to kind of guide you through this process? I have my own ideas, but I was curious as to what your thoughts would be on that.
Well, I don't know how much time we have, but let me go through the benefits of how to be successful at this. This industry is largely unregulated. There's, like I said, you don't need any specific licensing. So there is no governing body per se over the industry. And I'm leading with that because there are a lot of shady companies out here. So there are companies whose method of, this is how they work. They get contracts, which is great. And then they need people to do the work, of course. So they'll hire people, tell them that they're going to pay them, you know, net 30, which means every 30 days, work them for about 30 days, not pay those people, and then go on and hire a new batch of people. There's lots of companies out there like that. If you do any type of Google research, you can find out some of their names. They're not national companies. These are more local companies, actually companies like mine, where, you know, they have contracts and they have work, and they just literally just don't want to pay people. So you have to avoid working with those mid-level companies. And the way that you do that is by working with a national company. There's literally only about 10 companies that I recommend. If you can't get a contract with these 10 companies, then I tell people not to even get started. And what I found is that, especially in the Black community, I run into people who are either, they're skilled, they have the expertise, but they literally have no idea about how to get a contract, how to get insurance, how to set up a business. So they're struggling in that capacity. Or I have people that they know how to get contracts, but they don't know which companies to utilize. So they end up working with a shady company, not getting paid. And then they're like bitter and they're like, oh, I don't want to do property preservation. It doesn't work. Or I had a bad experience. Or this is my other favorite. I have people who they've been told a lot of things over the years. So they have a cousin who's in the business, or an uncle or an auntie, and they give them bad information. They'll tell them things like, oh, well, you know, you can't get a contract as a new vendor, which is not true. Or they'll say things like, you need to get a $50,000 surety bond to get started. Also not true. Or they'll tell them, they'll make it to where they'll make it seem like it's really, really difficult to get in. Now it is difficult to some extent, but they make it to where it seems impossible. And usually that's been Black people, to be honest. Like, I'll talk to people, they'll be like, man, I'm so glad I found your YouTube channel. I'm so glad I talked to you on the phone. Like, somebody told me I had to go do all these different things. Like, no, you don't have to do any of that. Like, that's not true. And it's unfortunate that people do that, because there's this idea that, you know, I don't want anybody to take my contract. You know, I don't want anybody to get in my territory. I want to, you know, get all the work and the money for myself. So what I do is help people avoid those regional companies where they don't pay you. I help people, you know, tell you which insurance you get through which company and how much it costs. I tell people how you can get paid more money, you know, just from the existing properties that are assigned to you. I tell people how to recruit properly and where to, there's a onboarding packet where you have to, if you're hiring people, you need to give them the correct documents to bring them on board. So I tell you, you got to have this documentation in order to get people to join your company. So I help them avoid all the pitfalls so that they can be as successful as they possibly can. It is, like I said, it's not really regulated. So you really have to have a plan of action to know what to do, or you will run the risk of possibly losing money.
Well, and that's interesting. And by the way, I'm talking to Danielle Pierce, and we're talking about making money maintaining foreclosed properties, and among other things. And we're on the Black Financial Channel, by the way, in case you guys don't wanted to know that. Yeah, I think it almost sounds like, kind of going into this space is almost like going out into the jungle. You heard that there's gold buried in the jungle. And so because there's gold buried, you're going to go out there, you're a prospector, you're going to go, into the jungle, that you're a city guy, right? Or city woman, and you've never been in the jungle, but you're going to the jungle to look for gold. Well, you think you're going to go out there and get rich, but there's a good chance you may go out there and get killed, or you.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, you might go out there and get swindled. And so the best approach, it seems, is that, is to make the investment up front, to have a guide that, that can do a good job, that will get you to where the gold is located, right?
Yeah.
And so that actually leads to my belief in terms of what you're doing as a guide for people that are getting into this space. You actually have a program on this. Can you kind of talk about the program and what you teach, and kind of how you help people kind of get into this industry if they're interested in digging deeper?
Sure. So I'll start with what's in the class and what do I offer. The class is actually virtual, so it's available to anyone, anywhere in the country. I've worked with clients in multiple states, so that's not an issue at all. I am pretty hands-on. I've been around, like I said, I've been a full-time entrepreneur for going on 12 years. I've never done anything outside of real estate. And for those of you who are my review people who are watching, I have 80 on my Facebook page. So 81 5-star reviews. And my Facebook page is under my name, Danielle Pierce. And then I have all the ones on the actual course website, which I'll mention in just a second, and plenty of testimonials, even on my personal Facebook page, which is also under my name, Danielle Pierce, and emails and texts. And, if you look, you'll find. I'll just say that there's plenty of them that are out there. But I go through the process of, what type of ad do I need to run in order to find subcontractors? Where should I run this ad, and what should it say? So I help you with that. I tell you the 4 different ways that you can use to pay contractors. I will give you a hint. Don't pay nobody by the hour. I learned that the hard way. Trying to, be fair and do the right thing and work with family and work with cousins, and ended up, it was just some bullshit. So don't pay nobody by the hour. Let me just say that. I'll give you that for free. Don't pay nobody by the hour. I help you complete the vendor applications. The vendor applications they're not really challenging, but the questions that they ask are designed to weed people out because they get so many a day. So I tell you, what answers do you put on these questions so that they'll select you, and you'll get a call back faster and get a contract that much quicker. I give you access to all the top 10 national companies that I recommend. And then even the ones, I don't really have a list of ones that I don't recommend. There's a few. And for those of you watching, I'll just give you one of them. It's company is called Edgemark Solutions. That's one company you probably don't want to work with. And that's just not because they're necessarily shady, but because the pricing is not like, you won't hit $300,000-$400,000 of revenue like I have and some of my clients have working with a company like Edgemark. So I'll just put that out there. So I tell you which companies you do want to work with. I tell you how to complete your insurance application and where to get the insurance, because you need general liability, you need errors and omissions, but you can't get it through like a State Farm or an Allstate or Liberty Mutual. It's certain specialized companies that offer insurance for this industry. So I tell you which companies to go through. I give you a sample vendor packet. So when you're hiring people, you have all your paperwork together. It's a welcome letter. It's what else is it? Welcome letter, W-9, a subcontractor agreement, a subcontractor application, and a couple of other documentation that you'll need as well. So that's included. I tell you how you should take your pictures because you get paid off of photos. The companies that I work with, some are based in the US, but honestly, Most are based overseas, like in India, the Philippines. So you're paid off of your pictures, before, during, and after photos. So everything that you do for every single property, you have to show proof that it was done. So date and time stamped proof. So there's apps that you can use to make that happen. And I tell you about those applications. But yeah, I tell you, like, how can you do your pictures to make sure that you get paid? If your pictures are not correct, nobody gets paid. And then also tell you which companies that you can sign up with to help you complete your bidding as well. Because the bidding can be challenging for some people, especially if they're brand new, but there is software that will assist you in doing your bid so that, you know, you can complete a bid and, you know, still get paid potentially if your bid is approved. And then also, I just threw this in there this year. Some of these companies now, you guys, are asking for you to complete a test before they bring you on. And if you are brand new to this industry and don't know anything about repairs, like, that test might give you some trouble. So I have a link, actually I have a PDF of like one of the vendor assessments for a national company. So you can have an idea of what's on the test. And of course I have the answers too, but I mean, that goes without saying, but I have the actual test so you can see, like, what are they going to ask me before they bring me on? So the class is pretty comprehensive. Like I said, I have plenty of reviews on it. I have a separate Facebook group that I created. And if you, again, whatever information you're seeking about myself or my credibility, you can find it. It's out there. It's available to you. So yeah, that's everything that's in the class. Now, you were asking me to explain the offer, or what are we doing now?
Yeah, well, why don't we talk about the offer? We set up a URL to go to your class, which is, if anybody's interested in taking a look at Danielle's class, she is making a special offer to those of you who follow us at the Black Financial Channel. The URL is drboyceinvestmentclub.com. We did a redirect. Just go to drboyceinvestmentclub.com and use the code word Boyce, B-O-Y-C-E, at drboyceinvestmentclub.com. And what is the discount that, that you can get?
So the discount is pretty sweet, and it's not, this discount is actually not available outside of this platform. So I'm pretty excited about that. What you'll be getting is access to the private Facebook group, which to me is priceless because it's my group and people tag me almost every day and ask me questions, and I answer those questions right there in the group. I also do trainings in the group as well, live trainings, and I just, you know, answer questions and give you my insight and experience about different things that I've ran into over the years. The access to the course is unlimited itself. Dr. Boyce, I found that the people who are most successful log on an average of 45 to 50 times. And I can see how many times people have accessed the course. And just by the questions that I get, I know if they've skimmed through it or if they've really been through the material. So that's there. You have access to me for questions, which again is priceless. I do an onboarding call to make sure that you start off going in the right direction. It's ideal for people who don't have any background in the industry at all or haven't started a business before. So I can give you some insight to that as well. Training sessions, I mentioned that as well. And that class is actually normally like $2,000 and it's $1,500 off for people who are watching this particular webinar on this platform.
Right. Wait, so now let me make sure I got it. So you said the regular price is $2,000.
It is.
You're gonna discount $1,500.
It is. It's a $1,500 discount.
Wow, that's big. So that's 75% off. So
it is
$500. I can take that class as opposed to the $2,000 price.
Yep. And you have access to me. I help people along the way. I probably sometimes help a little bit too much because I genuinely want people to be successful. Like I just, you know, a lot of times, and especially in the Black community, we have everything that we need, I think, in order to be successful. We just don't have sometimes the right blueprint. And I think that we even have everything we need to be successful as business owners, but we just start the wrong businesses. We start too many hair salons. We start too many barbershops. We start too many restaurants. We think that because you know how to cook that you should then open a restaurant, and they have nothing to do with each other. Like those two things are literally like worlds apart. I just think that we start the wrong businesses. And this to me is just, it's so ideal. Like, even if for those of you who want to do like a family business, I see people coming to me with that all the time. And I didn't have the best experience. with my family. But that's not to say that your family will not be the same, will not be, a wonderful experience. But I'm just putting it out there that
a lot of us have the same family, so you have the best experience. I think
we
a lot
do.
of that.
We do,
Yeah.
Dr. Boyce. I mean, I've had people, stop, like get stuff from, because if you run into a lot of sometimes valuable stuff in these properties. So I've had people go to the property, supposed to do a clean out, they take the stuff to the pawn shop. That's a violation. Or they take the stuff home, or they stop and pick up their baby mama. I've had people go to I've had people get high in the properties. I've had people steal out of the properties. So any like worst case scenario that you could think of, I've experienced it. I've had people, let me just stop. And a lot of these are people that I knew, like family and friends. So that's an option for you to hire those people if you want to. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I think it's ideal. Like, I think it's a beautiful thing if it can work. Like if you have the family or the team or the friends that you guys can work well together, like you can just knock it out of the park. But if you don't, I would urge you to cut those ties early. Like, don't let it linger. Don't go 12 months, 2 years with a situation where it's not working. Like, cut it early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was talking to a young lady I mentored yesterday, actually, about forming a family business. We were talking about this, and she's a little short of 30 years old, and and she was saying, I don't really know if I can work with my siblings. I don't know if they're on the same page I'm on, etc. And I said, well, here's the thing. First thing I said is I agree with you because I know your relatives. I know some of them are trifling, but I said, I had to agree. But then I said, really, here's the thing. I said, the key to any coalition really working, whether you're talking about a business, a government, or even a gang, the key to any coalition actually working is having a code of conduct. Like just a line that you just don't cross, things you just don't do, types of disrespect that you would never consider engaging in, without knowing that you're going to get penalized for that, without knowing that you might get cut off. You might, in mafia families, you might get killed, or whatever. And people think it just sort of happens that way, that, when gangs say, like, for example, when gangs say don't snitch or whatever, that's, oh, they're just being ignorant or what. No, that, to have a coalition that works, you have to have an agreed upon code of conduct, even, or in a family, like in our family, with my nuclear family, which actually is pretty good. My siblings and my parents, we get along. There's things you just don't do to family, period. Yeah. So when you have people that, that are in our families that will come in and join the business of a relative and do things to destroy the business, that means they haven't been taught a code of conduct. So she was telling me, the young lady was telling me, she said, what I really want to do is I want to work through my sons. I want my sons to be the ones that I go into business with one day. And I said, here's what you do. And this is free advice to the moms out there and the fathers out there who are really doing the damn thing with your kids. Don't stop, because it's going to make a big difference. I said, teach your children now about codes of conduct that relate to how you deal with each other, how you have each other's back. It could be basic things like, we all sit down and eat dinner together and put our devices away. It could be if your brother or your sister needs you, you have their back. It could be if you get into a fight with somebody in your family, you resolve it. It could be if somebody in your family loans you money, you pay them back. I'm amazed by how many people will borrow money from their relatives and never pay it back. What the hell is wrong with you? That's just trifling. They need that money. And you have the audacity to go borrow money from somebody you care about and put them in a bad situation because you can't get your stuff right. No, if you can't pay it back, you come back and maybe you say, look, I'm really sorry I can't pay you. I just need a couple extra weeks, or I'll take care of it. If you do this cowardly thing, like I'm gonna run off and hide and hope that you never find me, like that's just tacky as hell, and you're ruining the relationship. So I agree with you. When you're talking about hiring relatives, hold on for a second. Speaking of kids,
you guys,
be quiet, please. Thank you.
I can't see your questions, but
yeah,
Dr. Boyce,
And you guys can see my pajama pants. I do that's the secret's out. I do interviews and a lot of times I'm wearing pajama pants. So, so you guys know. All right. So anyway, sorry, I had to keep it real quick. All right. So, you know, at the end of the day, a code of conduct is critically important when it comes to being able to do business with family. If you have relatives who don't understand codes of conduct and just standards of behavior, then do not bring those people in your business, because it's going to ruin your relationship. Because if you want to survive, you're going to have to end up cutting them off. And then they're going to be mad at you. Next thing you know, you ain't speaking for 20 years. And sometimes I literally have some relatives, Danielle, where I say, look, I'm not going to work with you because I want to save our relationship, because I'm serious about my business. You come up in my business, it ain't fun and games no more. You know, and some people aren't ready for that. So Danielle, somebody asked a question about your class. I think Maureen was asking, how long is your program? And while you talk, I'm going to actually do a screen share so people can kind of see the page. So feel free to describe the amount of time and what the student experience is like.
Sure. So for people who are super motivated and want to get through everything, you know, as fast as possible, you could probably get through all the information in maybe a good 8 hours or so. But like I said, in order to really digest it and to know what you're doing and to be comfortable, it will probably take you, I would say, about 60 days in order to feel comfortable. And that's not to say that you'll be 100%, but you'll have a lot more knowledge than what you do right now. And myself, I am available to answer questions, you know, that you have along the way. You could probably, I don't know if you're able to go to my Facebook page too. You can see more reviews there. I have folks who, they won't leave a review on the course, but they'll leave the review on my Facebook page, or they'll just text me or email me, which is fine. But I mean, of course, you want it to be public information. But for people who are diligent, I've had people go through it in 8 hours or so. People who really want to know what they're doing and digest it and be proficient, it takes probably 60 days, I would say.
60 days, okay. And really, I want everybody to, if you sign up for the class, which you can actually find, you can get the special offer at drboyceinvestmentclub.com. That's drboyceinvestmentclub.com. If you want to get 75% off the program, use the code word Boyce, BOYCE. So if you put in Boyce, Danielle has agreed to give 75% off all the people that follow the platform. One thing I want to encourage you to do, and this is me putting on my Black Finance Professor hat. I should have been wearing it through the whole conversation. I don't know if you know, Danielle, I have a hat that says Black Finance Professor, and I put it on whenever I start talking financial. When I put on my professor hat, one of the things I want you to do is to rethink education. Like, Black people have to, we're the original man, we're the original woman. We are meant to be better than everyone else, not equal to everyone else, not included with everyone else. We are better in a lot of ways, and when it comes to how we did things in Egypt and Kemet and Africa and everything else. And what I mean by that is this, my belief is that when you think about taking a class, don't think of it the way you were trained when you were a kid. The way a class was done when you were younger, when you went to college, was some professor would teach you for 16 weeks and then you'd be done and you move on with your life and that's it. I think that education is done better in a mentorship capacity, where you can stay in there until you learn everything you need to know. And even then, you're never really done. They say it takes 10,000 hours to become really good at something. So that's longer than a 16-week class. So to me, I know a lot of the stuff we do in the Black Business School, we don't shape them. It's just classes. We're like, these are mentorship programs. This is where once you're done with the core material, the professor is still there for you every week, where you can keep going back to the professor as you're going on your journey and applying what you know, to go back and keep asking, hey, sensei, how do I do this? Or how do I make this business deal? Or how do I figure out how to handle the stock market right now? So it almost seems to me, Daniel, maybe you can help me with that to understand. It seems to me, when you talk about working with clients, interacting with students on your Facebook page, etc., that it's more like they're constantly coming back to you and going to each other so they can figure out how to actually apply what they're learning successfully.
They do. That's absolutely it. So in the Facebook group, you'll find people who are in the beginning stages. Like, I'm just starting today. I don't even have a business, but I'm going to do this. I have one girl, she's like 20 some years old. She's super young. Her name's Nikki. She's from Alabama. And Nikki, I've shared this screenshot before. She told me, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be your next success story. Just watch me. And then she signed up, and then she had her first contract within 30 days. Nikki does have a full-time job. Nikki's in the Facebook group. So you have people like her who are kind of midway through the process. They've gotten started, but they're still brand new. So you can ask them questions. You can see the posts that they make and see the success that they're having. So you can always see like the next stop in your journey. Really, nothing is really, I don't hide anything. I'm known for being very, very transparent. What I'm also known for too is being very direct. I'm not necessarily anti-empowerment, right? But I just feel like Black women, we get so much empowerment. We get so much motivation. We get so much, hey girl, Black girl magic. Like none of that stuff is going to pay you. So you won't see that like on my page, in my class, in my Facebook groups, because I think that you have to be internally motivated already. Like, I can't give you motivation. If you have the motivation and you're coachable, I can carry you the rest of the way. But if you're talking about, I just can't, I don't know what to do, I'm not motivated, then you probably should get a therapist or a counseling or something, because I can't motivate you. But people who are hungry and ready to go and just want somebody to tell them what to do, I excel at just laying out blueprints and helping along the way and answering questions and breaking concepts down. But to be motivated, I'm not really a girl. But if you want to be told what to do and how you can get paid, that's where I come in. And I only teach on what I know. Like I still work in this industry as well. So a lot of times, especially in real estate, because it's dominated by like middle-aged white men, you will find that people are teaching you theory and things they learned in textbooks. And the training is like 6 months to a year long. If I can't teach you what you need to know in, a couple of months, then I don't even know what I'm doing. Like I'm failing, because it doesn't take 6 months or a year for me to like get you to a point where you can be successful. I don't want to be your life partner in this. I want to teach you how to fish, and then you go on your way. I'm here to help you, once you have questions as you come back. But we don't have to be joined at the hip. And I think that's where I differ from a lot of people who are out here offering coaching programs. They want to be like, partners for life, and whatever you do, I want a percentage. No, pay me my money up front. I teach you, you go forth, be great, come back and give me my testimonial. That's how I roll.
Well, I like that. I mean, and I agree. I think that when you talk about motivation, we have a lot of motivational stuff out here. If you want your spiritual renewal, go to church. You can get that from your pastor or something like that. And then take that energy and apply that to the knowledge, right? So you're the person that will bring the horse to the water, and somebody else has to help motivate you to drink. And maybe I can help with that. I don't mind motivating people, but I agree with you 100% that we got enough rah out here. We got enough people that'll get you pumped up. But then people get all pumped up and then it's over.
It doesn't last. Once you leave that meeting room or that hotel or that conference room, you back to square one. So you have to have your own internal motivation in order to keep going.
Well, you know what? I know that very well. I know that in my journey as an entrepreneur, every day I have a little motivational speaker inside my body that pumps me up each day to go do what I got to do that day. And I think that I agree. That's my advice for everybody in here. Find a way to get that internal fire going, or something that's going to remind you each day to get right back on it, get right back on track, be consistent, stay focused, stay with your purpose. Because if you can't do that, then you lose. The biggest deterrent for people that aren't successful tends to be distraction. Distraction. Yep. Actually, I read an article in the New York Times that actually said that that's the number one reason why people don't reach their goals. The number one reason why people don't keep their New Year's resolutions is distraction. So find a way to keep yourself from being distracted so you can get in there every day and do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. So I'm going to give the URL out one more time if you want to take a look at Danielle Pierce's class. It's all about making money by maintaining foreclosures and things like that. And she can teach you a whole lot more. I have a lot of respect for the sister. She's a fly newbie in business, and has been just a consummate professional. And I want to say that to you in front of everyone, that I have a lot of respect for you and admiration for the way you do business. So the URL where you can go check it out, we created the special URL just for this conversation, is drboyceinvestmentclub.com. drboyceinvestmentclub.com. We'll use that URL for some other things we're going to do, but go to drboyceinvestmentclub.com. And if you want to get 75% off the class, use the code word Boyce. So drboyceinvestmentclub.com, use the code word Boyce, B-O-Y-C-E, and you'll get 75% off. So thank you very much, Danielle Pierce. It was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate being on the platform. Thank you, guys. If you have other questions, what should you do? Join my Facebook group, Women, Wealth, and Real Estate. That's my free Facebook group. You can join me there. You can email me at info@daniellepierce.com. I would give out my phone number, but I don't know how many people are going to watch it. So,
No.
however, you can.
You got your number, girl, because there's some men. I think there was a couple men who said, "Ooh, she's cute." No, we can't do that. No.
Well, you can find me, info@daniellepierce.com to send me an email. I do thank you for having me on the platform. I appreciate it. Love to come here. Can't wait to be back. You guys, if you're ready to get a contract and get started, I'm here to assist. If there's no reason why you can't get one, the only people who are not successful are those who they run out of money or they just decide to do something else. But that's it. If you're ready to go, I'm ready.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for hanging out with us. Make sure you go to theblackfinancialchannel.com and subscribe. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com. Hit the thumbs up button also while you're there. Show your love to black women who are experts at things outside of twerking, right? We know the twerkers get their share of attention, but we must show more attention and more respect for the women that are impressing us with their brilliance. And Danielle Pierce is at the top of that list. So take care, everybody. And one more time, the URL for the class is drboyceinvestmentclub.com. You can get 75% off discount by using the code word Boyce. And we are gone. So take care, guys. Have a great day.
Bye. Have a great day.